Hello Year 3-4. I've completed my science experiment with the boiling water and tea. Today I'm going to write it up as a formal experiment. It is important to learn how to do this. It shows that I understand how my experiment works. So the first thing I'm going to write is my aim. And the aim of my experiment was to find out how heat is transferred in cold water using tea. The equipment I used was a pan, water and tea leaves. Now I'm going to number these. Actually, I might asterisk these. So that's a pan, that's water, and that's tea leaves. The next thing I'm going to write is my method, how I did it. Now first thing I did was pour water into a pan. Second thing I did was add the tea leaves. And the third thing I did was place pan on stove and heat the water. Next I'm going to talk about my observations. Observations means what I saw, what I can see in the actual experiment while I was doing the experiment. So first thing I saw was the water started to simmer around the area of heat, and it made a ring of swirling water. You could probably see this on the video. The tea leaves started to slowly move around the pan. Steam started to rise from the water, and the water bubbled, bubbled, and steam rose quickly from the hot water. Eventually, the whole pan of water, Mrs. BW made a mistake, the whole pan of water was boiling, and all the tea leaves were moving around, turning the water into tea. Let's read that over again to check if I've made any mistakes. The water started to simmer around the area of heat and made a ring of swirling water. The tea leaves, I'm going to check that, started to slowly move around the pan. Steam started to rise from the water. The water bubbled and steam rose quickly from the hot water. Eventually, the whole pan of water was boiling, and all the tea leaves were moving around, turning the water into tea. Yes, I think that sounds good. All right, next thing I'm going to talk about is the results of the experiment. So the results of the experiment tell me what happened at the end. So I'm going to say, as the water became warmer, the tea leaves moved more quickly around the pan making tea. I sort of mentioned this in the observations as well, but I'm going to say it again just in a short sentence. So let's read that over again. As the water became warmer, the tea leaves moved more quickly around the pan, making tea. I'm happy with that. Right, the last thing I'm going to write about is my conclusion. Conclusion is what I've learnt from doing this particular experiment and what I've learnt about how heat is transferred. So I'm going to say in my conclusion, the pan heated the water. The hotter the water became, I'm going to put a comma there, the more quickly it moved around the pan. And I remember this from the experiment. You might have remembered it from the video as well. The heat, I'm going to use some of those technical words, was transferred. You might have learnt this word in your spelling last week, to the water around the edges of the pan. Now I learnt in class that this is called convection. Now I did notice that heat was also transferred, oops, I'll fix that up later, from the stove top to the pan. So on the stove it was quite hot. When the pan went on, I know this is called conduction. The pan was metal, if you also remember from the video. So the pan got really hot sitting on the heat, and I know that is called conduction. This is the correct way to write up my experiment. I hope you find it useful.